Once again, welcome to Super Recaps. Enola Holmes, a mystery and crime movie from 2020, is what I'll be showing you today. Watch out for spoilers ahead. The Holmes family home is located on the outskirts of England. The mother Eudora, the youngest daughter Enola, and a housekeeper are currently the only people residing there due to the father's long-ago death and the older son's subsequent departure. Because Eudora enjoys word games a lot and wants Enola to be able to succeed on her own, Enola's name is Alone, spelled backward. Enola has never ventured outside of the neighborhood woods, never visited a city or even a town, but that's okay since Eudora has provided her with all the knowledge she needs in science, literature, athletics, and even self-defense. Although they are very close, Eudora still keeps certain secrets. Enola has discovered that she meets together with other women in the house in secret. On the morning of Enola's 16th birthday, she awakens to discover that her mother had departed in the middle of the night, leaving only a very strange gift behind, a box containing some hand-painted cards and a small book about the flowers' language. Enola is presently departing for the railway station to pick up her brothers Mycroft and Sherlock, the renowned detective, in the hopes that they can assist her in finding the solutions she needs. The brothers initially don't remember her because it's been a while since they've seen each other, but once they're introduced, things start to seem weird. Mycroft is very critical of the condition of the house and of Enola's lack of respectable behavior and manners. Sherlock investigates their mother's room and determines there was no foul play because Eudora went on her own and had no intention of coming back. Enola later hears her brothers discussing something as they are playing pool. It comes out that Mycroft, the oldest son, has owned the home since their father passed away, and Eudora has only requested to use it for the next 16 years in order to raise Enola. Mycroft believes that Enola should be sent to a boarding school so that she can learn how to be a proper lady. Miss Harrison shows up the following day. Enola can't stand the strict instructor Mycroft hired to shatter and mold his sister. When Enola doesn't think twice to respond to Miss Harrison's condescension with hard words, Harrison even smacks her. Miss Harrison wants to transform her entire demeanor. Enola begs Mycroft for pity, but he refuses to change. She then turns to Sherlock for assistance, but he says he is powerless because the law considers her Mycroft's ward. Hurt, Enola calls him out for avoiding the subject and points out that he has always overlooked the fact that Mycroft can be cruel to their mother as well. Enola leaves the house in search of a distraction and climbs a tree to sketch. She is joined by Sherlock, who tells her a story from her youth that she was unaware of. Enola had a pinecone named Dash that she dragged around like a dog. Enola calls Sherlock out once more, complaining that he never comes over. When he tries to use his job as a reason, she reminds him that he also never writes. Sherlock calls Eudora, leaving a puzzle that gets on Enola's nerves, but he kindly reminds her not to let her emotions get in the way of seeing the truth. Enola searches for that truth in the evening by giving her gift a fresh look. Enola starts rearranging the letters on her message because Eudora likes word games and finds out her mother wants her to look at a painting she created. She discovers an envelope containing cash and another card created by Eudora hidden behind the canvas. In the middle of the night, Enola leaves the house wearing Sherlock's old clothes after interpreting this as a hint that she should take this seriously. The following day, as she arrives at the train station, she sees the noble Tewkesbury family searching for their son. They don't board with her, but their employee Lindhorn does. Enola discovers she is not alone after all when she stumbles upon an empty carriage. A young guy who turns out to be Viscount Tewkesbury emerges from a bag. He hired a porter to bring him in secretly so he could get away from his family, but Enola doesn't care because she doesn't want him to jeopardize her goal. So, after warning him about Lindhorn, she sends him on his way. Tewkesbury, however, returns a little while later, alarmed and frightened after seeing Lindhorn inspecting each carriage. Enola thinks she'll get out of the carriage herself this time, but she hardly makes it a few steps ahead before hearing Lindhorn attacking Tewkesbury. Out of guilt for not doing the right thing, she returns and strikes Lindhorn with his cane. Enola catches him just in time, and the two of them rush through the hallways together. When she realizes they can't get out, with nothing else to do, they must jump off the train as it passes a patch of grass. Sherlock is once again searching the house for evidence since he believes his sister's disappearance is connected to the mystery. The housekeeper corrects him for having the same perspective as Enola, and after explaining that the girl had left some money for her, she urges Sherlock not to leave his sister again because Mycroft has called the police to look for her. When we return to the teenagers, they decide to travel to London together. Tewkesbury uses the foraging skills his deceased father taught him to locate some edible plants when it's time to set up camp for the night. As they bond over their peculiar families and their anxieties about leading lives that aren't right for them, Enola cuts Tewkesbury's hair to make him tougher to recognize. They take a journey to London in the morning, where they split ways. Enola, who has never been to the city, is quite intimidated, especially because there are so many demonstrators chanting for or against the reform bill that would grant women the right to vote on the streets, not to mention that there are signs all over town featuring Tewkesbury's face offering a reward for him. Enola decides that getting a disguise is the first step, and since she is aware of how Mycroft would have perceived her to the police, she determines that wearing suitable lady attire is the best disguise. Sherlock has declined the case of Tewkesbury's disappearance in the meantime because he first has to locate his mother and sister. Despite Mycroft's objections to that choice, Sherlock discovers a clue in the news of two lads jumping off the train. Enola starts putting the final piece of her plan together after getting some lady attire and booking a hotel room for her time in London. She next visits the only address she has ever seen Eudora write to a tea house. She then publishes some cryptic messages in the newspaper's ads. She arrives at the location, hears some strange noises coming from the first level, and walks upstairs to investigate. This is how she discovers Edith's Women's Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Although Enola doesn't recall Edith from those years, she is aware that she was one of the women who attended Eudora's private sessions. Edith had been Enola's first instructor. Enola tries to coerce Edith into divulging information about the type of work Eudora is engaged in, but when she fails to use the corkscrew technique, Edith easily beats her. Enola notices a box of dynamite with a logo before she leaves that is the same as the one that Eudora had at her home during their meeting. Enola rearranges the letters and discovers an address, which she promptly visits after recalling some odd statements she overheard during those encounters. The door she discovers has a purple ribbon on its latch that matches the ones the meeting's female attendees were wearing. Enola breaks in through the window and discovers a lab, leaflets, and crates filled with explosives, which leads her to believe Eudora is the boss of a militant organization of suffragettes. She is ambushed by Lindhorn on the way out and forced into a bucket of water in order to reveal Tewkesbury's whereabouts. Since he doesn't believe her when she says she doesn't know, Enola pretends to drown before attacking Lindhorn when he is preoccupied. The two of them start to fight when Enola fails the corkscrew once more. Lindhorn drags Enola inside the lab and tries to stab her with a knife. Enola utilizes the chemicals on the table to ignite the explosives after her corset saves her life, allowing her to flee. Enola feels obligated to alert Tewkesbury now that she is aware Lindhorn is in London. She visits his family's mansion dressed as a widow and informs them she is Sherlock's helper. Unfortunately, Inspector Lestrade, a close friend of Sherlock's from Scotland Yard, is present and exposes Tewkesbury's mother's deception just as she is about to believe it. Tewkesbury's mother ejects them after they start arguing. When they are outside, Enola pays the gardener to change into her clothes and inquiries about Tewkesbury's favorite locations. Due to some letters Eudora secreted in her chimney, Sherlock also discovers Edith in the interim. Enola is okay, Edith assures him, but she declines to provide him with any additional details, pointing out that Sherlock doesn't see the significance of their work. When he says that he finds politics to be uninteresting, Edith calls him out as yet another man who lacks interest in altering a world that so perfectly suits him. Lestrade comes to Mycroft to clarify that the woman he saw was in fact his sister, and Mycroft offers a big prize if he manages to catch her. Back to Enola, she enters the forest and locates Tewkesbury's treehouse, where he had hidden some false hints about his whereabouts in an effort to mislead his family. She also discovers a hint in a book regarding the actual site, but the Dowager, Tewkesbury's grandmother, interrupts her research. The woman leads Enola out of the forest while expressing her pride at having been entrusted with guarding a little of England's glory and aspirations. She refers to Enola as a fresh mind, and notes the similarity between her son and grandson. When Enola next visits Covent Garden, she discovers Tewkesbury there selling flowers. She cautions him about Lindhorn and then leads him away, not realizing that there are now street signs with her face as well. When they get to the hotel, Enola informs Tewkesbury that she noticed indicators in the woods suggesting that his father's death wasn't an accident but rather murder and that they now want to kill the son as well out of greed. Lestrade abruptly interrupts their talk, who has arrived after the seamstress Enola purchased the outfit from tipped him off about Enola for the reward. Enola takes Tewkesbury to her room after throwing a teapot at Lestrade, where they attempt to seal the door with a chest. It won't hold for very long, so Enola offers herself as a sacrifice and orders Tewkesbury to jump out the window because his death is worse than having to send her to a boarding school. While Enola is imprisoned and sent to Mycroft, who takes her money and shouts at her, leaving her in tears, Tewkesbury makes a successful escape. Enola struggles to fit in at the boarding school and despises all of her classes that focus on how to behave properly and find a husband. Miss Harrison, who likes to remind Enola her mother abandoned her and never genuinely cared for anything besides her cause, keeps Enola's room closed at night. Sherlock pays Enola a visit one afternoon and informs her that while he has located Edith in the lab, he has not yet located Eudora. When Sherlock admits he does care for her in response to Enola's yelling that she is sick of being treated like a clue, she teases him for being so abnormally emotional. Her role in the Tewkesbury case is also known to Sherlock, but the actual reason he came over was to give Enola Old Dash, which Eudora had hidden under her pillow. Enola required this evidence to confirm her mother's concern for her. Before departing, Sherlock gives Enola today's newspaper, in which it is mentioned that the Lords will soon vote. She starts to recognize a hint as Mycroft delivers a huge, hefty basket, interrupting her. Tewkesbury, who had come to help her, is there when she opens it. Enola hides in the basket, and Tewkesbury removes her from the room only to have Miss Harrison discover her. Tewkesbury then reverts to the Mycroft lie, claiming that he sent Harrison this present to be opened in secret. When Harrison returns to her office later to open the basket, she only discovers a stupid cartoon that Enola had left her. Enola had, in fact, fled through the window. She and Tewkesbury had driven off in Harrison's car. The plan was for them to head back to London, but Enola decided that in order to uncover the mystery, they should risk their safety and confront Tewkesbury's family. She is certain that the uncle is to blame for this because he wants Tewkesbury to represent him at the polls and because the son, like his father, intends to support the reform. When they arrive at the estate, it is already dark. Unexpectedly, nobody is around, indicating that they are expected. The two flee behind statuary as Lindhorn suddenly appears and fires a rifle. Enola tries to assault Lindhorn when he gets closer, but Lindhorn knocks her out. Tewkesbury attempts to attack him next but is unsuccessful, so Lindhorn prepares to asphyxiate him to death. Fortunately, Enola then awakens and launches another assault. She eventually executes the corkscrew technique, causing Lindhorn to stumble and strike his skull against the railing before passing away and claiming to work for England. The Dowager then appears as the true culprit. She murdered her son, and in order to preserve the traditions of the nation, she now wants to get rid of her grandson as well. Enola weeps over Tewkesbury's body after the Dowager shoots him, thinking he's dead, but he's actually fine. While Enola was engaged in battle with Lindhorn, Tewkesbury put on a piece of armor from one of the statues. The Dowager gives up after realizing she is surrounded. The next day Sherlock discovers the Dowager is the guilty party after analyzing newspaper hints, and he informs Lestrade of his discovery. Sherlock is pleased to hear from Lestrade that Enola has already found the solution to the mystery. Enola is offered to remain with Tewkesbury and his mother in the meantime, but she declines since she needs to continue searching for Eudora. However, she does take the reward money. Enola promises Tewkesbury that they will meet up again in the future. After that, Enola purchases the newspaper and discovers a mysterious note that is signed Mother. She instantly deduces that this is a trap set by Sherlock, but she nonetheless travels to the meeting spot while keeping her distance from her two brothers while they wait for her. Mycroft soon gives up and accepts Sherlock's offer to make Enola his ward before requesting to go since he is in a terrible mood because Tewkesbury's vote made it more likely that the reform would pass. As they leave, Sherlock notices Dash on a nearby statue and realizes that his sister has been there the entire time. Enola has an unexpected surprise in her room when she gets back to the new hotel she's staying at. Eudora is there waiting for her. Eudora says that she didn't leave because she didn't care, rather, she left because she wanted to create a better future for her daughter as they embrace. She will soon leave once more to continue battling, but she tells Enola she's happy with what Enola's accomplished. Enola is okay with this because she has now discovered her own calling. Just like her mother and brothers did, she will work as a private detective and a finder of lost souls. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and press the bell icon to get new video updates.